Welcome to the Angels Win podcast with former Angels broadcaster Victor Rojas, featuring Jeff Stoddart and Chuck Richter. And now it's time to talk about some baseball. Victor, take it away.
All right. Happy Sunday, Angel fans, baseball fans. All of you in Southern California, you're having quite a Sunday. Dodging Hurricane Hillary, and that wasn't enough, so you thought you'd mix an earthquake into the action.
It's time now for the Richter scale.
That's right, baby.
The Richter scale, indeed. The Richter scale.
What was it on the Richter scale?
From what I was seeing on Twitter, it looks like it was a 5.
Okay.
So,
well,
a little more than a foot massage, but, shouldn't be anything that's knocking down buildings. Knocking on wood.
I always love those memes of the small earthquakes.
Right, the chair tipped over.
The tipped over chair that says, "We will rebuild."
Yeah, there you go. That's what we should use for our graphic today for the podcast.
I got people that are disappointed, Jeff, that it's not something crazy. Oh, we've been lied to. I mean, come on, you guys. I don't, but again, to be fair, none of these people in California have ever dealt with weather.
No. It was
Santa Ana winds, maybe.
It was. I mean, let's be honest. If there's anyone that my heart kind of breaks for right now, it's Mike Trout. I mean, is there anybody that loves weather more than that guy? He had to have just been jonesing for something good to be rolling in. And, it was funny. When I got up this morning, I kind of reached out on Twitter on the Angels Win account and just checked in, finding out how everybody was doing. And all I was getting back was a bunch of, it's barely drizzling. This is nothing. We were lied to. And
yeah.
And then there were other people coming over the top going, it's not even here yet. Just wait and see what happens. And
gosh.
Oh my gosh. I think that people just needed something else to complain and argue about other than Angels baseball, which we are here to talk about. So we might as well dive into it. But before we do, Chuck, cheers to you. What you drinking today?
Copper and Thief. It's a red wine blend, but it's been aged 3 months in a bourbon whiskey barrel.
Oh,
and dark and jammy with toasted vanilla notes.
Very nice.
It's
very
good.
Nice. Nothing better than a cab from a bourbon barrel. Yep, I'm doing the little Scotch, some Balvenie Doublewood.
Balvenie.
So, some Balvenie. Sounds Italian. It's Scottish.
I understand, but I like to make it sound
like it's the Balvenie.
It's Balvenie. Come on.
All right. Well, folks, as you can see, Chuck and I are first of all just flying the two of us. Victor couldn't join us this evening. He had a family emergency that came up, so we wish him and his family well, and we are also doing pretty much everything that we can at this point to avoid jumping in to talk about Angels baseball in the week that was. So, Chuck, when we in our last episode, we talked about what the team needed to do, and it was a an uphill climb for sure. And, kind of what we came up with was that the team needed to win about, 28, 29 games to get them to where they needed to be in order to have a sniff at the playoffs. And they took that and they went 2-4 on the week. So they had 2 series where they went 1-2, and they are now in a position that if they want to win 90 games, they need to go 29-8. For the balance of the season. Not likely, not looking good, not mathematically eliminated, but I think it's fair to say we could just about put a fork in this one. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I would agree too. And like I said on the last podcast, I came to that, point where I was done hoping for this team to make the playoffs. Just too many injuries sustained, too many mistakes on the bases, too many mistakes in the field. Pitchers can't get even to the fifth freaking inning. The starting pitching can't. An error behind some of these pitchers, Sandoval, one of them, and he just loses his shit. He just has a mental breakdown and he can't get anybody out, right? I understand, but he needs to understand that his defense behind him is not always going to be perfect, okay?
Yep.
And he can't unravel when that shit happens. Now, I mean, and I don't want to turn this into a beat up on Sandoval, episode. I've already got my licks in past episodes, but and it's not even Sandoval. Tyler Anderson can't even get 5 innings anymore. I mean, the guy was signed to give us quality innings, to give us 6+ innings with 3 earned runs. Okay, and even that is a 4.50 ERA, right? 6 innings, 3 runs, 3 earned runs. And we're not even getting that from him. And it's taxing the bullpen. And you've seen the bullpen meltdowns, right? I mean, Carlos Estevez has been overworked, and he's blown 3 saves in the past, week and a half. So, yeah. Again, I'm looking for just things in this team from our rookies, from our core guys, our core young guys that are going to be here for a long time, with or without Otani, that I just hope that getting them this playing time this season is going to be beneficial to their 2024 and beyond. And I think it will. My hope is that the Angels finish strong. It hasn't happened yet. It still can happen. And it can happen and they still make the playoffs. And even with that said, it could be enough for Shohei Otani to say, listen, we battled. We didn't make it. We were playing meaningful baseball. And again, I said this last week, we were playing meaningful baseball, trying to peck away to get into the wild card, of getting there. And it didn't happen, but there's hope for the future, right? There's something to build on going into 2024. Hopefully with Mike Trout coming back and Neto coming back soon, we'll have the whole team and Otani, and hopefully we play good quality baseball on the field, and our pitchers can pull their heads out of their ass and give us some quality innings. I mean, what do you think, Jeff? I mean, that's where I'm coming from for how I'm viewing the rest of the season, because otherwise it's just gloom and doom. We're like, all right, stick a fork in them, to your point. They're done. Why even bother? You're on mute, Jeff. I can't hear you.
Shoot, I get so much crap for breathing heavy into the mic. I'm like...
This isn't a Zoom work call, by the way. This is a podcast.
Jeff, can you come off Zoom? We can't hear you. You're off mute on Zoom. We can't hear you.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I guess I say stick a fork in them because, again, realistically, I mean, point to a team in Major League Baseball, any team that you think is going to go 29-8 over the balance of the season. There may be some out there that could, but that's a rough run rate right there, right? So for any team, for the Astros, for the Braves, for, whoever you want to throw out there. But for the Angels, that might as well be, I mean, it feels like it's, going 162 and 0.
Right.
So it feels like this thing is over. I don't disagree with you, though, that there isn't nothing to play for. I think there's a lot to play for. At this point, as an organization, as coaches, as the manager, as teammates, aren't you really auditioning for Shohei Otani and trying to give him a reason to re-sign over this last month and a half, or whatever we have left, and show him something. Show him that there's a reason. Why come back? Why run it back for another 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
Why run it back for another 10 years? If that's probably the type of deal that he's looking at, and probably the type of deal that he'll end up getting, is something close to that. So there's a lot to play for. And I think that, the pitchers showing some grit, showing that they've got something, showing that, when you've got a young rookie in Jordan Adams in the outfield that makes a really rough error last night, that, you know what, that's baseball, and that shit's going to happen. What do you do? Be a professional. Be a veteran. Get up there and pick your teammate up. Do not dissolve and give up another, however many Sandy gave up after that, 4, 6, whatever it ended up being.
Yeah.
But good Lord, I mean, he threw 100-ish pitches over not even 5 complete innings, right? I mean,
exactly.
It's got to be better than that. He can't just say mentally, screw it. This is horrible. This isn't on me. It is on you. Pick them up. It was 2 runs. Yep, that sucks. But let's go.
You didn't have to give up the other runs. I mean,
right.
he just caved after that. And that's been my problem with him.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, back to your point, the other thing, too, is playing hard. If Shohei Otani sees the rest of his teammates just mail it in and just have no heart, not want to win these rest of these games, he's like, why would I want to play with a bunch of these losers, right? That just don't want to, put it all on the field. And I don't think that's going to happen, because there's a lot of good guys on the Angels, and I don't think Nevin would allow it to happen either. Some respect to Nevin. I don't agree with a lot of his moves, his bullpen moves. They drive me nuts. But he does have that passion, and he does want to win, and he does, so again, the question was asked last week of who, in our mailbag, who should the Angels retain? I said, get Matt Wise out of here. I don't see anything in that guy. Absolutely nothing. But Phil Nevin, the jury's still out for me on him. I'm leaning towards keeping him. I really am. But we'll see how he rallies the team from this point forward. If I see the team give up on him and he's just incredibly passive in the dugout and just like, well, we tried,
right.
I'm like, get this guy out of here too.
Right.
So,
right.
But
yeah, we've got to see some heart there. And, one of the things that we talked about that we wanted to do today was really kind of dive more into the mailbag than we normally get a chance to do. And some of the things that we're discussing right now are actually questions that are in the mailbag. So what do you think about if we jump right in and start looking at some of these?
Let's do it, because we got some flack that we don't answer enough mailbag questions.
Yeah. To be fair, it was from one guy. So
yeah, Frank, you can. Never mind.
All right. Let's see. So this first one comes from Travis in Fullerton, and he says, if and when Shohei leaves in the off season, what is our next move? Do we go for a full rebuild, or try and, air quotes, replace him in free agency? What are your
okay.
And actually, Andy from Cambridgeshire, UK, has a question that's similar. If you guys became the owners of the Angels, what would you do to rebuild the club in the off season? So those are 2 questions that are kind of in the same vein.
Well, I think that, it's the answer can be in 2 different directions, right? If the Angels sign Otani, I think they should still add, which means that, Artie's going to have to push through not push through. He's going to have to break through and just shatter the luxury tax, right? And just, but I think he understands that, right? I mean, unless he's just a complete moron that thinks that just signing Otani and not adding pieces to put a winning field on the team, only caring about butts in the seats, that's not gonna go over well either. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of fan. I mean, Otani alone with this team, as it is constructed currently, is good, but there could be improvements, right?
Yeah.
I think, honestly, I mean, I think the Angels need a good number 2 behind Otani, like a good number 2. I don't think Giolito is that guy. Sucks that we gave up a couple good prospects, but it is what it is. I think they need to go after a Blake Snell, who is a free agent. I don't know how good Aaron Nola will translate into the American League. I really don't. So I think it's really Blake Snell or bust. And he would be a great number 2 to add to the rotation. But then, Jeff, you gotta hope that Reed Detmers could pitch with some consistency.
Right. And boy, that's the part, right? Because if there was a shining moment with the pitching staff this week, it was Reed.
Him.
I mean, he came, really close to having his second no-hitter in 2 years, back-to-back years.
I know.
I mean, this is and I think that we have to remember this kid's only like 24 years old. He's still learning. He's still learning his craft. He's still learning the major leagues. He's still learning all of those. I feel like I'm not worried about Reed. I feel like Reed's got something that is going to translate well for this organization in the years to come. I don't feel that way about Sandy. I don't think Sandoval has it. I don't get the impression that he necessarily even wants to be here. But his on the mound demeanor, his reactions to adversity on the field, I don't see that as a positive and something that can easily be changed. Or maybe not changed here. I still feel good about Griffin Canning. I feel like,
I do too.
He could. I think he's solid 3-4 guy that will be good for you in your rotation. But as far as throwing money at things and already going way over the salary cap, boy, we've had a history of that with him, and it hasn't worked out well. And part of me wonders, is our problem the players on the field, the players in the organization, or is it the leadership from Artie down to Perry and on down? Is that what's at the core of what's preventing this team from being who they could be?
Well, there was, a lot of the decisions, in things that, and Jeff Fletcher had a great article about why was there in the Orange County Register, why has there been a big difference between 2022 and 2023? Because in 2022, that was like one of the things we were building off of, a great starting pitching staff. Okay. And none of that has really carried forward into this season, including Tyler Anderson, who had a earned run average in the 2s last season with the Dodgers. Right. So that's why there's been a lot of criticism on Matt Wise. But according to Jeff Fletcher, everything is coming in from the analytical team to these pitchers on what to throw, how to go about their approach on the mound, and it's all about strikeout, 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 right? And that's why you see so many high pitch counts. And now you also see a taxation on the bullpen as a result, and guys not even being able to get to the fifth inning.
Yeah.
They're going for the strikeout, right? But what about this, Jeff? If it's not broke, why fix it? Last season was fine. Why tweak this? I don't understand why they would tweak what was successful in the campaign the year before to this year. And so it's I don't know. There's a lot of things that need to be uncovered, and a lot of things that need to be tuned, because there's a lot of things that need to be fixed with this team. This season, whatever their game plan was going into the season, like, yes, this is what we're going to do and we're going to win it all. No, it's been a disaster, a complete disaster. And it's not in Jeff, real quick. And it's not just the starting pitchers. It's the approach with these guys. These guys are swinging at every first pitch. These guys are hackers up there, okay? And it's just it's not sustainable. When you got runners on base, you need to move the runners. There's no productive outs anymore on this team. There's no more, let's hit the ball in the air because there's a guy on third base.
Right.
I think we're bottom tier in the entire league in getting runners home from third or second. It's just like it blows my mind. It's like baseball 101 has been thrown out the window with this team this year. We're going to have this genius idea. We're going to do better. And it's been a disaster.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring up that article from Jeff Fletcher, because that was actually referenced in one of the questions that came in the mailbag from Brent from Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Murfreesboro, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
That's where my daughter lives.
Well, there you
That's
go.
where my daughter lives. Yeah.
There you go. Next time you go see her, you need to see Brent. But he references that article, and he essentially asked the question, does the fact that this stuff is coming down to the pitchers from the higher ups absolve Matt Wise from getting axed in the off season? Because is it actually his fault if this isn't coming from Wise? Yeah. It's coming from upstairs.
And to be fair, that is a great point, because guess what? Matt Wise was also the pitching coach last year when they were successful. So
my issue, I can see you thinking about it.
Well, no, my issue with Matt Wise is I feel that, and we've been spoiled, right, with Bud Black, and then Butcher had his moments with the Angels too, but Bud Black, do you remember, Jeff, when Bud Black would go out to the mound and he would put his hands around the hips? It was super awkward. Around the pitcher on the mound, but it gave them a sense of, calming, like a calming person, like, hey, dude, let's talk this through. Everything's going to be fine. Take a deep breath. Let's get back to what you know. Let's get back to the basics here. Okay. Right. And I just feel like, Matt Wise just fidgety, and I don't know if he has that calming presence. But again, to be fair, we're going to have to do a deep dive on Matt Wise now. And I will eat crow. I will. And I will apologize if I feel that my statements in the previous episode were out of line, because this is all coming down from the Angels analytical team. And it really wasn't him, because he was successful with them last year. So,
it's interesting you mentioned him being fidgety and in the dugout and not being not looking calm and confident. And I've got to think for any of the for Nevin or any of the other coaches, how can any of them feel confident or feel anything other than their job is on the line with every game that passes for this team? I mean, they've got to be, brushing up their resumes and getting their agents working the phones.
Yeah.
Because even if it's not him, does the organization blame him and make him the scapegoat?
Right.
And speaking of Bud Black, the Rockies are on pace to lose over 100 games this year. So Buddy may be available to be a pitching coach next year if he wants to stay in the game. I don't think he's going to make it.
Has there ever really been a successful pitcher that has managed a baseball team in the major leagues? Think about that for a minute.
Boy, that's a great question.
I think they're mostly position players, and a lot of them are catchers.
A lot of catchers. Yeah, I can't think of one. It's interesting. Like, we look at that 2002 Angels coaching bench that Sosha had, and boy, all of them just got picked up and had, different levels of success. Madden, even Bud Black had some.
Renicky with the Brewers.
Yes. I mean, there's been success from that team, but yeah, boy, I can't think of of course we're gonna post this and we're gonna get flooded with, what about this guy and this guy? We're gonna be like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah. Well,
all right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see. With the playoff chances looking very slim, do you see? And boy, I always mispronounce the new kid's name. Is it Shanuel?
No, it's Seanwell.
Seanwell. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think the Seanwell call up has more to do with showcasing to the fans and to Otani that the team has a solid young core to build around? So what did you think of that call up? Was that a good move at this point? And were there potentially ulterior motives to bringing him up? So after 3 weeks?
I mean, it does reek of desperation, but at the same time, you look at his numbers in the minors. He's getting on base. He's hitting well over 300. So he's a guy that can get on base and he can put the ball in play, right? And he's a good defender. What I've been most impressed with him, he's a great defender at first base. So I think he's going to struggle. And I think he's going to struggle because his exit velocities in the minors, and I hate to use, these,
sure,
but it is what it is. But he's so young too, Jeff. Mm-hmm. And if you looked at him, he's got like PVC pipes for arms. Okay. So, I mean, just wait till you get him in the weight room.
There's a lot of growing to do there. Yeah.
There's a lot of growing into that body. Right. Yeah. So I think that, he can be a guy that can hit. If he hits 15 to 20 home runs eventually in the future.
Yep.
Okay. And hits over 300 or 290 to 300, but he has an on base close to 400 or 400 plus. Dude, that's a great draft pick.
Yep.
So, and a lot of those guys, they didn't hit for power in the minors ever. I think he just had one professional home run before he was called up.
Yeah.
And so, but I think, did you see him play this weekend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A couple of his swings reminded him of Ichiro or Tony Gwynn, mm-hmm. the way or Rod Carew.
Yeah.
The way he kind of flips at the ball, and a few of them were robbed because of the defensive alignment. There was a guy right up the middle twice mm-hmm. on balls that would have been normally a base hit up the middle. And then he got robbed by Luke Rayleigh the other, was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember. Came in and dove and caught a ball that could have been a hit. So, he's putting the ball in play, and that's something that this Angel team needs.
Yeah.
Not like those hackers like Hunter Renfroe that are just swinging. And that's the other thing. This team leads the American League in home runs, but they're bottom of the basement. Like their basement barrel, dude, of just, with runners in scoring position. Like,
right.
It just blows me away. And it is that also, Jeff Fletcher, if you're listening, I know you listen. You said you did. That's another next article for you, Jeff. Find out if that's the approach. Yeah. Chicks love the long ball or the dong ball.
Easy. Yeah, it's funny. I was looking at Shohei's numbers, batting for the year, and gosh, am I even going to be able to find him here? I don't know that I am, but he's sitting at 43 home runs, and I want to say he has less than the 90 RBIs, and I'm thinking that's a horrific stat to have that many home runs, and it tells you how often people are not on base. And I think it struck me most when I saw it when he hit the grand slam. And it was like, there's another 4 RBIs for him, and yet he's still not over 90. It's like, good Lord, someone needs to get on base for this guy.
Right, I know. It's pretty pathetic.
Yeah. All right, let's see if there are any more here. This is a little bit has less to do with the current team, but we're going to go ahead and take this one from Kyle from Huntington Beach. Just kind of Angels in general and how the team is running. And he says, when do you think the team will retire a jersey? It's been 25 years, and there are a lot of candidates. Vladdy, GA, Salmon, Baylor, Downing, potentially Weaver and Finley. I get it if they want to be exclusive, but there are some big names in the franchise that are still out there. What are your thoughts, Chuck, on retiring numbers?
I think they could do well. First and foremost, I think that Tim Salmon needs to be done yesterday. Okay, just end of story, right?
So but how do you do Tim Salmon without doing?
You can't. Anderson? Well, you got to get rid of Grichuk. But he's only here to the end of the season, right? So it can happen. So
right.
I think you could do Downing and Weaver.
Do you think that Downing and Weaver are retirement worthy? I would say no. I would say no.
Who else is going to wear number 5 if you're talking about Brian Downing? Come on.
I don't know. Who knows what kid will come up? I'm still shocked that the only guy in the Baseball Hall of Fame wearing an Angels cap is Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah.
And his number is being worn by maybe the best player in franchise history.
Right.
Like how did that happen?
And how do you do that?
I think you retire it, and I think that you let Trout wear it for the remainder of his career, and when he retires, you retire it, and you've got 2 27s up there.
Yeah, it's got to go. Even though Vladdy went in as a Hall of Famer for the Angels, that's got to be Trout's number that's retired.
Yeah, but I think you retire it twice, right? Like, who was it? The Yankees have a couple of numbers that are retired twice.
That's true.
It's not unheard of. It's been done, and I think that they just need to own it. Like, we screwed up. Both of these guys deserve to have their number retired, and 27's retired twice.
Yeah. But Tim Salmon, dude, he was a lifer Angel. He has to be the number one, the first guy done, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's a tough one, man. I don't disagree with. Let me start off by saying I don't disagree with you because he was a lifer. But you look at his numbers and GA's numbers during the time that they were here together, Garrett's numbers were better. And they were both on that. They both helped lead that team to a World Series.
But Garrett went to the Dodgers and the Braves.
He did go to the Dodgers. Yeah, who cares about the Braves? He went to the Dodgers. That's the ugly one. But yeah, it feels like there was a time during the 80s and into the 90s where they were just retiring everybody. Right. Everybody was getting their number retired. And now it's like they don't do it at all. And I don't know what the hang up is. I really don't. Yeah. All right. Well, that's our mailbag for the week.
What's your albums back there, Jeff?
Well,
I see Fleetwood Mac.
Yes, for you. I've got Fleetwood Mac Rumors I put up there. And then also have Rats Out of the Cellar, their first full-length album. I was talking to, chatting with somebody. Is it Mama Ruffin? Ruffin? Yeah.
By the way, I met her, her husband Chad, at Angel Stadium last time I was there, and they are great people.
Very cool. Very cool.
Really, I sat right next to them. I saw because she posted a video once of her husband Chad getting up off the couch after the Angels fucked up somehow. And he just gets up and he goes like this, and he gets up off the couch and he goes into the kitchen or the bar or wherever, I don't know. And then I just thought it was the funniest thing because I'm like, oh, I do that times 10.
Right.
And so I recognized him at Angel Stadium, and then because I was trying to at least meet her because she's great. I love her on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Chad, the husband, he's not on there, but so I saw him. He's like, yeah, she's down there, and go sit with her, and I'll join you in a minute. And so I went down there. It was a really great time, and so there are some really good folks on Twitter.
That's cool. I'm trying to think what it was that we were chatting about on Twitter. We were talking about the inconsistency of this team. That she was saying on Twitter how when the offense is on, the pitching is off, and when the pitching is on, the offense is off. And I had made reference to, I feel like that I bring that up so often, the inconsistency of this team on this podcast, that it's kind of akin to, you always know when you go see Bruce Springsteen that he's going to play Born to Run. And she made mention that, Bruce really isn't my flavor. I said, well, I was actually going to go with, it's like going to see Rat and them not playing Round and Round. And she was like, oh, that's more my speed. So I thought I'd throw that
in your honor, Mama Ruffin.
There you go. All right. Well, let's see. I think that's a wrap for this week. We'll be back next week. We'll have Victor on board. Again, hope everything is good and safe in Southern California. It feels like this hurricane is not as bad as we're expecting that it might be, and hopefully the earthquake that accompanied it also didn't cause too much damage, and everybody stays safe and dry.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Chuck?
No, I wish we had more positive things to talk about, in terms of the Angels, but it is what it is. Again, next week, just hopefully the Angels get Trout, get Neto back soon. And they can, again, like I said, just make a positive, mark on the rest of the season, and
indeed,
hopefully that encourages Shohei Otani to say, you know what, I like where this team's heading. I like the way we finished, and this is the only team I've known. I don't know any other culture. I don't know any other of these guys on other teams. I'm going to stay. So indeed. That's my hope.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Chuck, cheers to you. For Chuck Richter, for our absent friend Victor Rojas, I'm Jeff Stoddart. We wish you a good week, and go Halos.
Thank Thank you for listening to the Angels Win podcast with Victor Rojas, Chuck Richter, and Jeff Stoddart. Go Halos and drive home safely.
Say goodbye.